getting a little upset,
Yeah.
but I was like,
Is your computer waking up, Paul?
Yeah, it's alive.
Yeah, there's no three bottles. Yeah.
Where they took the.
I never seen some bottle of that. Yeah.
I'm being nice to the water here.
Thanks. Extra street lamp.
They trying to point me in this direction.
Why not? Here, I get
I didn't know Scott wasn't gonna be here today.
What's that?
I didn't know Scott wasn't gonna be here today.
Going to a wedding.
Yeah.
Oh, wedding.
Some family friend or something.
Him?
You should find something.
Sidewalk.
Well, I was like, you're not.
It's not spelled out. Line. It's just a little sunshine.
Okay, talk about that.
Where the two really.
The audit seems to be stuck at this. I have.
I have an agenda.
I got the 12.
You can vote, you should be able to vote.
There's no mouse.
Oh.
I have a printed agenda for you anyway.
Oh, hey, wait, it might work.
Okay.
Yeah, there's still no mouse.
Is there, like a button to turn it on and off or something? There's a little yellow light on the pad.
Yes.
No.
No.
This is the finest computer you can get in that.
That's not true.
It actually might be like a 2015.
I-
It's still 8 years old.
It might come live yet. It's,
Oh, God, I figured out.
1994, you have like actual floppy disks.
94. Yeah.
It's not like.
yeah, I remember back when they were making people.
I'm just on my days off.
Picture of picture.
On Friday nights, on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday morning. Come back. And the 10th.
It's ran. Right. It's ran.
Work.
I'm sure you heard the other side. Oh, it's just an agreement.
Fine.
To do the, work down, yeah, but that's not a specific project, however, that's what they're gonna get started.
But what I did, I said, I don't need as much this year, so now,
Look at them.
yeah, so cool.
Another project,
Anyway.
this little tree thing was Market Drive. Like, you know, along, we have all that plant shit, which is from garbage, but in fact. we grow-
Guaranteed to get an outcome. It's always.
I'm confident when you. You don't have to.
There, yeah, swear.
I'm not that I'm a fake. I mean, you know.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
What's that?
This is,
This is a crowded group back here.
Oh, okay, you're thinking they're.
They did a good job. of landscape architecture.
Great, I think just.
All
right.
Yeah,
Cheers, the ones that's.
yeah.
But that's
Hello, sir. There you go.
that's one of those.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We have to write marks it all up. and-
Yeah.
So we have to-
Here. I like that. I was thinking that West or West Rutland Drive. All the, again, on that whole strip. That's like weeds.
Yeah.
But. If we could kind of show that.
Dave gets the chair. It's gonna be a long day. Dave's got the chair. Dave's on time.
Okay. And he was like, yeah, this weird one. A tree. It's not actually a location. No idea.
Yeah, what's going on?
I went and got.
Oh, did you? It did look-
And they're all.
Yeah.
There's so many guys wrong.
Good. You get to live. You get to live now.
Did you do anything with continuing education, the, ICC conference?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, find all the jobs, things and things. Yeah.
Could ask.
Dave, I'm doing well. How are you, sir?
Good to see you tonight.
I don't know about that. I got to go to the Coffee Creek Correctional Facility this morning. That was a load of fun.
Where at?
Coffee Creek Correctional, the women's prison over there.
Does it have anything to do with that nurse that got 30 years?
No. That's not on.
Do you need any of the documents or are you okay? Okay. I have the agenda up here too. So.
Yeah.
Just taking people in chairs.
You have the paperwork for the public.
I do.
I show 6 o'clock.
Why didn't it's almost like
I
a
know.
start of a prayer meeting or something.
I wouldn't know.
Ah,
I love it. I love it.
It's 6.
6 o'clock,
Yeah.
okay. Call the meeting to order, I'd like to invite everyone to stand and join in the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excuse, Mayor Anderson, this has got another issue going on, so we will begin with public comments. Are there any public comments that anyone would like to bring forward that is not already addressed on the agenda? Yes, ma'am, if you would state your name nice and loud so everyone knows who you are. You had to tell her to be loud?
I mean, anything but quiet. Ann Looters, I'm here tonight. The council actually has a workshop scheduled for next week regarding fireworks, but my understanding of the procedure is that public comment is not taken during workshops. So I wanted to give some information about a survey we conducted to the council. Could I give them to Liana?
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you. And real briefly, just we'll address the cover letter. During the July 20th, 2023 council meeting, an ordinance restricting the use of fireworks inside city limits was discussed. Many members of the public commented regarding the use of fireworks within the city of Stevenson, and there were comments both for and against the proposed ordinance. It was advised that there was a petition circulating with an effort to completely restrict the use of fireworks inside the city and within the Columbia River Gorge. Without knowing the included language and context of the petition, we felt it would be constructive to obtain feedback about the use of consumer fireworks in Skamania County. Our hope was to obtain factual information void of emotion so the council could make an educated decision. To that end, the results are attached to the document that I gave to Liana and would ask the council to please review those. Following our review, it does show that resident users of fireworks in our county do consider circumstances surrounding weather conditions, safe use locations, and alternatives should the conditions not be appropriate. When asked what safety measures people took, 81 respondents indicated they had a hose nearby, and 54 persons indicated they had a hose and shovel at the ready. To the question of purchasing fireworks but not using them due to a safety concern, 74% of respondents said yes, they have purchased fireworks and then not used them due to safety concerns, with an equal amount of respondents indicating they saved them for use at a later time, such as for New Year's Eve. We really would like the council to know that this survey was drafted with the intent to limit emotional responses and gauge the true efforts and intent of the citizens who purchase and use fireworks in our communities. Our efforts weren't as successful as we had hoped. A lot of folks that responded did provide, in fact, strictly emotional responses and not factual responses, which is unfortunate because we really just wanted to provide some factual data. So I'm hoping that you can read through those. We would like to ask the council to take great care and consideration when they consider how to move forward, and just kindly remind you that if you do decide to move forward with any type of restriction governing on emotion is not good. It's unproductive and it generally fails to serve the electorate.
Thank you. Liana, can we make sure that we get that added to the packet for next week? Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public comment period. The changes to the agenda, you can see on the there. Any questions about that? Okay, consent agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through T.
A through F, actually.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, sorry.
It goes through F. I was like, that's weird, but all right. All right, A through F.
And I will second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Christie. You're skinny.
Sheriff's report, undersheriff. Good to see you tonight.
You've been provided with documents for the statistics for September as well as the monthly stats for the entire month with the activity, and also provided you with a 9-month list of statistics for the city as well. So here to see if you have any questions about what you've been provided.
You don't, do you, Dave?
No, I do not. Thank you. Thanks, Trace. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay, moving right along, Economic Development Council. Director Waters.
Hey, guys. Well, I'll just sit, and is that okay if I sit back here and talk? So you guys are gonna make come up there.
Is that how we do it in Olympia?
I have no idea.
Hasn't been allowed in the rotunda yet.
Yeah, they actually haven't let me on the floor yet. That's next session, so. You guys just, I believe, passed our contract, so thank you for that and the condensed agenda, but just wanted to talk to you about the EDC and kind of the services we provided over the last year. And so a couple things, we provided 4 pub talks this last year, which were great for businesses to come in and talk about how they're starting up, the challenges, the pluses, the minuses of their business in Skamania County, and it really allows them to network. So those 4 events were great. We partnered with MCED for 3 of them and actually got a grant for that, so that was really great. We came in contact with over 200 businesses last year. So for those of you that don't know, the EDC is actually contracted through the state of Washington as a EDC. So it actually gets $75,000 a year from the state to be a contracted EDC. And we actually have measurements that we have to abide by as well to satisfy the contract. So that's a good thing. 200 businesses. That's a good number. I feel like, especially in our little county.
Yeah.
So we met with 3, and this is particular in Stevenson. We met with 3 developers who have looked at Stevenson over the last year and given them ideas or met with them on site. So those have been good conversations. Big project that we've been working on is broadband. MCED's been facilitating that. Looks like I just had a meeting today. We're probably going to partner with Klickitat County to make it move a little bit swifter. We're working on the legislative on the legislative side. I've been appointed to the state CURB board, which is the Community Economic Revitalization Board, which gives small low percentage loans to small communities, cities, rural areas up to $3.5–4 million. They're also doing broadband work. And so I got in contact with another CURB board member who is a broadband maniac. Guy knows everything, and he is with the Nisqually tribes. So we've been working with them, MCED, everybody. It's been a great experience. So I've been really excited about that. The other thing is, even if we get broadband, we get approved for broadband money, that money probably won't come in through until 2025. So we're still a few years out on that. So probably completion is 26 or 27. So a couple other things that the EDC does is we lend out money. So this year alone, we've lent out over $700,000 to Skamania County businesses. And another little thing that we've worked on because I do have the privilege of being a state rep is I was able to get the county $1.5 million. We're still working on that, but hoping to use that money right here in the city of Stevenson with the blessing of the county, and that's with working with the county and the city. So hopefully we see that 1.5 million invested in the city. And yeah, hopefully all good things. So lots of good things to report this year. And it's just been a privilege to be both the EDC director and a state representative. So yeah, any questions?
How do we go about getting some curb money?
You just got to apply. Yeah.
That easy, huh?
Yeah, but you know, you gotta be able to pay it back. That's the only, it's the only bummer about. But it is low interest. It's 2.5% loans. So, so that is good. They do a number of amazing projects. I do have to abstain, but I think I can be pretty vocal until I abstain. You have to abstain from the county or so.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
When you
Any
say
questions?
I do. One quick question. When you say there's like $1.5 million coming to the county, is that earmarked for a specific use?
Yeah, so there's Skamania County is part of 3 counties that are called encumbered counties. So they get paid timber dollars. Part of that was the 3 counties over 2 years were getting 4.5 million. In previous years, it had been 6 million. So I worked out a deal with DNR to get the money from 4.5 million to 6 million. Then DNR was also charging a fee of 25% of an administration fee. So they were taking that fee right off the top. So that was 1.1 million that they were taking off that 6 million. So I was able to get that fee negotiated down to 5. And they're like, well, you know, since you want to rewrite everything else, what else do you want to do with encumbered lands? And I said, well, they were putting aside $70 million for encumbered land, encumbered counties to be able to buy lands so that they could actually harvest that timber. And I said, well, what if we took a small percentage of that, gave it to the county to be able to buy commercial land so that they could actually develop it and get the money instantly, because the market where it's at, you'd have to buy clear cuts right now. You wouldn't be able to buy a fully forest, forest right now. So they got behind that. They actually allowed myself to write the language. So I wrote it to where the county would get 1.5 million. I screwed up. I've learned now that you've got to say exactly how the money will get facilitated to the county, but we've got that figured out, I think now. But so it gets directly sent to the county, and then they can do whatever they want with it in terms of buying commercial land. So, but the thought is, the hope is that they buy in the city of Stevens.
Well, thank you, Kevin. And Chief. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Can you talk to us?
I can. So hopefully you received my third quarter report. I won't go over it line by line, but I just hit a few highlights. Under tourism promotion, we continue to get a lot of interest from travel writers. So we've been hosting several travel writers, hosting one again next month. A lot of that, those leads come from State of Washington Tourism. So had a great relationship with the state and working with them on lots of different projects. We submit press releases to them when new lodging properties open and things like that. They're a great partner in tourism. We hosted a meet and greet for the American Queen Voyages. The president came on a cruise. Their president came on a cruise just last month. And so we hosted a meet and greet down at the port for all of their passengers, which was fun. And also something new that we've been doing on the tourism side is we recently started a collaborative group with Vancouver and Kamaswashugal. area. Generally, most of the tourists coming to this area come through either up or down I-5 and come through Camas, Washougal and Vancouver. So we're collaborating with them to work on some itineraries that we could, shared itineraries, shared ads so that we can stretch our marketing dollars further. I'm pretty excited about that partnership. Also, we're working to grow up. We have a monthly tourism newsletter that we send out, and we have a promotion ongoing right now that you're entered to win a getaway if you sign up for our tourism newsletter. So we're hoping to grow that email list. As far as events go, we continue to do our monthly networking events, several ribbon cutting events. We've got another one scheduled for later this month. So those are always super exciting. See ribbon cuttings, fun part of my job. And then of course, we're currently working on Christmas in the Gorge because that's right around the corner, folks. Whether we like to admit it or not, we're working on Christmas. As far as membership services go, the last year, starting in January, we started working on a brand new membership structure. We are currently in the process of rolling that out, educating our members on what that looks like, and it's completely different than what we offer right now. The new due structure, membership structure starts in January. So right now it's just kind of education and getting people to sign up for what they want, so that we can do the fun back of the house work over the next couple of months to get everybody set up and ready to go in January. But we're pretty excited about that, put a lot of work and research into it. Very excited about our new membership structure. We also just recently, we do an annual membership survey in September. So we'll be posting the results of that. Shocking, but housing is the biggest concern of our local businesses, affordability and availability. And as far as government affairs goes, we hosted a meeting with Congresswoman Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez. It was just open for chamber and EDC board members because she had a very small window of time. But was very well received. It was a really good meeting with her. And then we also held our last quarterly government affairs luncheon. Our topic was childcare, or the lack thereof, the challenges of finding childcare. And so those conversations, I'm sure, will be ongoing, and that'll be something that will be there's a bill that we will be advocating for in the 2024 legislative session. Kevin. And since next year's an election year, a lot of our upcoming luncheons will be focused around candidates, and hoping to get some gubernatorial candidates at our December luncheon is the hope. So let's see. That's about all I have.
Thank you. Anything for her? No? Well, thanks for everything you guys both do. I was just looking here, walk-in visitors, 952 for one quarter. That's pretty impressive. That's great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Get back on the agenda. Okay, public hearing on the proposed hearing. We will open the public hearing at what the time it is, 6:18. Staff report.
So we met at a special meeting in September to talk about the budget, and at that time it wasn't balanced. Now it is. So there's some main highlights out of the letter. Wastewater capital projects are the biggest. That's what we're going to be continuing to work on in 2024 is finishing up the collection system project. That's the remaining 3 lift stations. It will also be working towards closing out the wastewater treatment plant. And we're also working on trying to get financing for currently the line that's under capacity under Cascade. And so we're waiting to see the finance package for that to determine whether or not we're able to do it with a Public Works Board loan, or if we want to try to find some other financing for that. But that sort of remains the focus. And so again, the overall revenue summary that we have, a lot of it, over 42% of the money's coming in, as well as other financing sources of 21%. Those are all your loans and your grants that we have for those wastewater projects. The remaining charges for goods and services, those are your water and sewer fees. Taxes are sales and property tax and lodging taxes. And then the remaining are interest and other minor compared to everything else. And the overall expenditure summary, again, if you look at the chart, services, while it looks big and generic, a lot of the services are for the wastewater projects that we have going on between the construction contractors and the consultants that we have. We also have consultants for the Park Plaza project, as well as the Parks Plan kind of wrapping up. So that's the majority of what next year is focused on. Personnel is another large part of your budget, and then the remaining some minor capital outlays, supplies, and then debt service. One thing I wanted to point out, let's see, I'll go over the other highlights for the expenditures. So the cost of living adjustment is 5%, which was approved in 2022. We did a 2-year, 5% each year. And then a lot of the projects and priorities are, as we talked about, for the strategic plan. And then for the police contract, I know Tracy left. We're still working on negotiating that. So right now in the budget, it's $50,000. And they were requesting 100. So in the end, we'll see where that lands. That should come back in November to discuss that. At the special meeting that we had, we talked about full-time fire chief, and we couldn't not only figure out penciling out, but there were other challenges as well. And so we are proposing a $1,000 per month, up from $100 per month cost for the fire chief pay. I have yet to talk to County Fire District 2 about that, but we have a workshop coming up that we can talk about that together. It does maintain $60,000 for each fire department, for Fire District 2 in the city for fire hall repair. And then overall expenses still exceed revenues by about $34,000, which can be absorbed. It's not insurmountable as it was previously. So the street fund, we have some projects that we're waiting on a TIB grant for, but we heard good news on that. So that'd be the West Side Chip Seal project, as well as the all of the matching funds needed for the First Street project. So they typically have a cap. They ended up having more money in that fund, and we're able to get all of it. And then Carolyn also talked with them about trying to get some funds for some additional preliminary engineering that we have to do. So we're waiting to hear back on that, but good news on that front. And then it also includes Lakeview Road paving, just because that project, we haven't been able to talk to the residents about that project yet. And we wanted to talk with them before we move forward with construction. So again, that First Street project is included, and the goal again is to finish that project next year. Park Plaza's continued design, tourism fund, the tourism committee will meet beginning, I think, November 1st, to talk about the applications that came in, and then that will be included in the November budget. Water sewer fund, for the water treatment plant, it's painting and graveling the yard, working on the water intake road, and then the Rock Creek intake stairwell improvements. We also have about $150,000 for sewer line extensions. And so these are contractor or developer led. So what happened this year, there were 2 projects where someone was extending the line. And what this is for is, if we want them to extend it beyond what they have to, we pay for that addition. And it saves us time and money on that project and gets the line just that much further out. And then transfer out to cover existing fund deficit for the wastewater upgrades. One thing that is different in this budget than the one that was presented was the cost for the, what are we calling it? The water source, long-term.
Water source.
Right,
study.
yeah, so we're doing a study to determine whether or not we want to use the well, whether we can use the well as a long-term water source, and if so, there's a lot of improvements that need to be made. If that's not the route we're gonna go, we do need to make improvements to Rock Creek intake. And we've tried as much as we can to troubleshoot, but it's coming down to the next thing to troubleshoot is to dig it up, and if you're digging it up, you might as well replace it because it's probably time. So we're waiting on determining which way to go for that, and then we'll get financing for that, or look at our other funding options. So that was taken out of the budget, but the project is not off the list. For wastewater upgrades, again, it's, yeah, majority of the services expenditures below. So the treatment plant, fairgrounds, Kanaka Creek, and Cascade lift stations are all in there. And then equipment services, we have shovel-ready designs for a new public workshop. The wastewater treatment plant is taking over more and more of the space down there, and we need to find a new place for it. And so that's in there for $80,000, as well as financing the purchase of equipment that's needed. So that would be a new truck, a wheel loader grader, and a sweeper. The larger equipment would be used, and the truck would be new, and all of that would be financed. So we'd be paying on that. And there's a local program, there's other multiple options that we can go for.
So we might actually have a sweeper that will operate when it's not raining.
Maybe,
Sweet.
maybe.
That would be the goal.
Right, right. One thing I wanted to note, let's see. So for the wastewater project, the city, oh, that's not the one. Has done or has worked really hard to get grants for the project. And so we have over $8 million in grants for the project. It's 42% of the project cost between the wastewater treatment plant and the collection system. We're continuing to do all we can to get more. So again, for the Cascade Avenue improvements that are needed, we're continuing to try to see if there are additional grant opportunities, a lower term interest loan, whatever we can do to fix what we need in a most cost effective.
When we were doing the sewer plan updates and the rate study for that, the best case scenario that we thought prudent there was to anticipate $5 million in grants coming to the project. We exceeded that by $3 million. So
nice. But I also wanted to show the reasons why we're working so hard, but also why the rates aren't going to go down. That's the debt on $12 million. So
And that is it in 20,
I think in here I have it hitting in 2025. Again, we'll see how the construction goes. We're continuing to hear delays on parts, so. But if anything, it's just gonna shift a year. So. Yeah. Are there any comments, questions?
Well, and also to clarify, that graph looks very scary if you're tying it in your mind directly to rates and thinking that they're going to skyrocket like that in 25, but you've been softening that.
Right. So the city's been working really hard to try to soften the blow because we didn't want it to be like, yay, I have my $30 sewer bill, which is what it was before this project started. And then now your sewer bill is $200. We've been collecting, we've been slowly increasing the rates as slow as possible so that it is sort of a steady climb up to that final rate. The other upside of doing that is we now have money to put at the cost overruns from the project because of the inflation. So for example, the collection system project is about $400,000 over what we initially budgeted, and we even de-scoped it a bit. We don't have to replace one of the wet wells because it's fine. So again, that we were able to save money and put it towards the project still. But yes, it's not as daunting as it could be. And I heard back from FCS today, and they are working on the presentation. They just need to know when the presentation will be, and then they'll back.
that for the rates.
It's for the rates, yes. So.
Questions from the audience? Okay, questions from the public? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing at 6:31. Any additional discussion? Okay, thank you, Liana. Unfinished business. Update.
So staff has been working on getting the committee together. We're working on getting a very broad and representative base. So not everyone's on septic, not everyone's on sewer. And it's about 15 people right now. There's a couple more that I'm waiting to hear back from. And the goal is to meet 3 times. And the first meeting will be to sort of, again, we got a lot of great information from the workshop, but it will, again, kind of just confirm what information we need, where everyone's coming from, and get different perspectives. Staff is currently working on some analysis and gathering information for the second meeting, which will be a deep dive into the topic. But just because we're gathering that doesn't mean we can't change based on how that first meeting goes. And then the third meeting, we hope to kind of have everything more or less wrapped up. And our goal is to have it done by the end of the year. So it will be facilitated because, again, that's the most efficient way that we could get it done.
Because I was asked yesterday if you have to be a resident of the city to be on the committee. They don't live in the city, but they'd like to participate.
We're right now we're keeping it to
City.
well, more or less. Yeah.
A manageable group.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I mean, if they're representing an interest that isn't represented, then
For example, we've got a real estate agent, I think, that's
Mhm.
not in the city limits,
Okay.
you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
I'll let them know.
Mhm.
Any questions for Leona? Okay, moving right along. All right. Ben. Dear.
All right, Chinnadeer, point you to the staff report starting on page 254 of your packet. You just set the stage broadly for what subdivision is. So anytime somebody wants to turn one lot into 5 or more lots, that engages the subdivision process. It's a 2-step process. Preliminary plat is where there's a really thorough in-depth review by Public Works and Engineering and Planning and City Council to review a project, make sure it's gonna meet all the city standards. Preliminary plats come with a set of conditions. Developer goes off, they know what they need to build, they build it, and then they come back at final plat. At final plat, it's a much less thorough process. So it comes to you all. There are 5 considerations you need to make. Those are on page 254. So you need to determine whether the conditions imposed when the preliminary plat was approved have been met, whether the clerk, treasurer, and county treasurer have certified the taxes and assessments have been duly paid, satisfied, or discharged, whether the public use and interest will be served by approving the proposed final plat, whether the bond, if there is one, by its essential terms assures completion of improvements, and then whether the requirements of state law in this article have been satisfied by the subdivider. So that's it. That's all you have to review. On the next page, I've highlighted the things that just aren't quite in place there, and I'll talk about some of those, and then I'll rely on the city attorney and public works director to talk about some of the others. We did just get some information that came in this afternoon that helps settle some of those questions too, I think. So there are some street lights in the subdivision that haven't been installed. Many have, some haven't. There are street signs, striping and marking that's not yet completed. A few of the water meter setters aren't in place. Again, some are, some aren't. There hasn't been an evaluation and installation of some of the requirements in the habitat area on the west side of the subdivision. And then there has not been an evaluation and mitigation of site distance at some off-site intersections that was a requirement of the preliminary plat. Those things haven't occurred. And so that's where in the previous criteria, it's whether they have a bond that is suitable to city council. So when this was written, I and J on this page were not into the city. They are now, and I believe that they've been reviewed by my colleagues, and they'll be able to talk about those. Similarly, well, the amount of the bond didn't include, oh, I skipped over one. The preliminary plat proposed a pedestrian pathway along the perimeter of the subdivision. The pathway is not put in place in situations like that. We send it to the planning commission to review to see if that's okay or if it's not okay. They said that that's okay. They did make some requirements, set some requirements on the developer to not do that. One was to, how did I put it in here? Reconstruct parts of the sidewalk where there was a crosswalk drop where there would have been a pathway coming through. So that has not yet been done. And wasn't specifically identified in the bond amount. I'll let Carolyn talk about the bond amount more. So after all that, when this went to print yesterday, some things have changed. So the options for you in your review yesterday were to grant a conditional approval. Approve the Chinnadeer subdivision phases 2 and 3 subject to conditions which shall be verified by the mayor prior to certifying the final plat, or just delay a decision until some of the issues have been resolved. In that option A that I talked about, I prepared 5 potential items. I think that 1 and 2 of those might not be an issue based on what came in today. So that's all I have for you.
Okay. Questions? Comments?
We're gonna hear more about the bond or other, the other two things, I guess, stuff that changed.
Yeah,
or-
there were two bonds we didn't have. They both come in.
Okay.
Yeah, maintenance bond, so that is for a year after, so if anything breaks, maybe 2 years after.
2 years.
2 years.
The contractor's on one for 1 year, they're on the hook for 1 year, the bond's good for 2 years, so if anything breaks, you can go and say, hey, contractor, will you fix this? And if they don't fix it, you can go up to the bond to fix it. There's some sort of deficient work or something fell apart.
Mhm.
Then the second was the performance bond, and that is to complete the items that are listed that aren't in completion. If you wanted to grant that preliminary approval right now, this bond simply says if they don't complete those items, we go to the bond, tap into it to get those items completed.
By what, I mean, is there a time frame involved in that performance?
It's a 2-year bond, but they've got, they're trying to get to final so they can, start selling lots.
The performance bond, we put a July.
Is it a July date?
Yeah, but I don't. Not that in the paperwork, that was.
So
The idea is to complete those final loose ends that are out there. There's some street lighting, some, again, the striping, curving, things like that that need to be completed that are actual construction related items. So we just want them to perform those items. And if they don't perform them, they posted a surety bond so that we can go to the surety and say, hey, we got to complete them because they didn't get completed. So we paid X number of dollars. We want that money out of the bond. And you have a expert who's come in, an engineer, and identified those costs, estimated those percentages, and then that's how you calculate the bond amount. I know Carolyn and Rick, there was a couple of things that got added to the bond. Well, the bond's gone up and it's come down and it's gone back up a little bit. So they reached that number in agreement with the engineer's analysis on the items that need to be repaired or that need to be performed.
Okay.
So, it's a cost estimate. You hope you get it right in terms of it doesn't cost us 3 times that to actually do that work. That's the purpose of that particular bond.
Okay, my concern isn't so much how much that bond is, but when these items are going to be completed. If we're talking 2 years down the road.
Now, the maintenance bond's
that's
2 years to
not
perform.
acceptable.
Go ahead, Rick.
It's on the bond, we have to have them in no later than July 21st, 2020.
Everything's ordered.
And 90% of that will be done by the end of the year. The only thing that's not gonna be here, if you need to know, is whatever the habitat people come out and put the bird boxes on or and signs in, but that's not a public issue, but it's open space. And yeah, I've ordered the street light today, the one that Carolyn brought up that was missed in phase 1. And we have a path to get that street light in, so it's been ordered. The other one that's missing, and it's base, the other one's here. I'm expecting them out here sometime this week.
Well, it's looking good.
Yeah, thank you.
You've done a good job.
Signing and striping, which we bonded for. There was quite a bit of delay on getting the street names approved. And they're into, I talked to, not Woven, I talked to Tapany today. And they'll get them out here and get striped and the street signs in.
Cool.
So as far as that goes, the only other thing, is that one missing street light for phase 1, which we went ahead and bonded for and ordered it.
Do you have a date on when your setters are gonna be here? Are they still February?
Excuse me?
The setters, the water setters?
Yeah, I got a data update on that because brass is so hard to get in
Yeah.
a certain brand of city.
So long as it's not Chinese brass.
I don't know, I think it comes from Pennsylvania, so.
Don't say where it's
But
going.
those meters will be here. He said no later than early February,
Yeah.
maybe January,
Same.
but you can't get them. And unless we can change your standard, I mean, I can get them on the internet for half the cost, but they're not what you're. And what's on the plan also is that particular model it's been discontinued. So they have a different model. So, but anyway, they're on their way, but they're paid for, they're on their way, but they're not installed and they're not here yet. So that's what they told me. And we did let everybody know, and it's actually on the face of the plat, which was requirement from staff. That let everybody know, that, you know, the water is not gonna be here till February. I don't think anybody can get a permit by then, but I'm just letting you know that it's covered.
Okay,
Yeah, I think the occupancy, they can't get occupancy until the.
That's,
water-
that's fine. Occupancy's great, because they builders build houses without water, and without electrical, so.
Honestly, you don't need any temp water up there, do you?
No, no, we don't need temp water. We can get it from the neighbors if we need temp water. Or we can get it from the city if we pay the fee. There's no really need to do it. I mean, I built 6 of the homes in phase 1 and I didn't use water.
Different.
Not that I didn't want to pay the $5, but I just didn't need it. So,
any questions?
I'm sorry, can I clear up one more thing? Real
Absolutely.
quickly, the maintenance bond for the roads and streets that we dedicate to the city. That's a 2-year bond.
Right.
That's what it's written at, just so everybody understands that. The other bond's a 1-year bond, but we have a development agreement with the city that says our follow-up needs to be completed by that July 1st, the July 21st date.
Great,
And that's why I put that on there.
okay, thank you. Okay. I would entertain a motion if that is the desire of the council.
I'll make a motion.
Well, hello, Christie.
Oh, here, sorry, let me change it.
No. I would love to make a motion that we do option A to authorize mayoral approval. Do you want me to read that whole thing?
You could just say as presented and we'll put it in the minutes.
As presented.
Removing one.
As presented, removing item 1 on that list.
As presented, removing item number 1.
Second. Moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Christie?
Aye.
There you go, Rick, long time coming. Nice
Oh,
job.
Hallelujah.
We have a balloon bottle of champagne.
There you go.
Actually, I
Celebrate.
got a gift for you. It's the Mylar.
Ah.
I'm not gonna let the city, I won't charge you for it, but there it is.
Does it have any ink left in it?
Well, we signed our little part. It's not pretty. Brand new.
Well, thank you. I mean, that's, I can
Thank you.
remember when I was on the planning commission when that whole thing started.
Oh, yeah.
That was way back in the day.
2005, 2004.
A long time ago.
Yeah,
So thank you very much. Appreciate all your work.
we get all those sewer hookup fees, $8,500 each, 44 of them. That'll
Finish doing what
help.
you
Maybe
do.
they'll bring that graph down just a little bit.
We could only hope.
Well,
Thank you.
We got one waiting on our extension, by the way.
Pro Tem Mayor, I just want to, as a personal, I want to say thank you to everybody at staff who has dealt with this project since I came on city council in 2010, which is 5 years after. The work is not only yeoman, it's beyond yeoman that they've done to get this across the finish line. So I know we've changed public works directors, I think 4 times since then, but Carolyn gets the accolade and goes on the plaque as the finish line. person. That's, and I think we've had 5 city managers since that time. So as just a citizen, I want to say thank you to everybody here at staff.
Planners, 3 planners?
I've only known you, so it's like.
Okay, we will move on to item C.
What about B?
B.
That's what I meant, G. Short plat.
From an 89 lot subdivision to a 2 lot short plat.
Right?
Start with the big apple to get to the little drum.
Yeah, so
Like getting a big candy bar at Halloween versus the little bitty one.
when land is divided into 4 lots or fewer, then it's not a city council process at all. It's a staff process. In this case, staff's process required the dedication of right of way along Chester Road. The applicants have followed through with that. And while staff can require it, we can't accept it on behalf of the city. And so we're asking you to authorize the mayor to accept right away when this plat is recorded.
You have the motion, Ben?
Yeah, how about let's do a motion? I'd like to do a motion to accept the right of way as outlined in the conditions of acceptance, it's short plat, SP 2023-01 period.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Thank you.
You gotta get your Swedish chef on.
well, I was like, I don't,
Okay,
sometimes it's.
amendment number 1 to the DOE loan for the wastewater treatment plant construction. Liana?
So originally, the treatment plant, barring any supply chain issues, would have been wrapping up by now. And the project is extended another year, and we're also experiencing, the contractor also was anticipating on demobilizing for a period of time. From originally, I think it was March of this year until this fall, I think, when they were going to start doing a little bit of additional work. But that has not been the case. And so what comes with that is increased inspection costs. And so that's what this is. We also submitted this to Department of Ecology. And so we have an increased loan by that amount as well. So that $365,371 is the consultant and the inspection cost for that project. And the first item is the loan increase, and then the second item is the extension for the services with Wallace. We also, the loan also originally expired in 24, so
So to extend
extended that, yeah.
This is concerning C and D. correct?
Yes. Same topic, two contracts.
All right, motion to approve amendment number 1 to agreement number WQC 2022 STEVBW 00028 between the State of Washington Department of Ecology and the City of Stevenson to add $365,371 for a revised loan amount of $10,301,371 and an expiration date of June 30th, 2025. Correct.
Second,
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor?
I,
Okay. Motion to approve the contract extension with Wallace Engineering for services related to the construction of the wastewater treatment plant upgrades for an additional amount of $365,371 and a revised total contract amount of $1,432,580.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
I,
Okay, passed. All right.
It's easy to extend the money.
easy.
Is I.
I believe
Pay it back so long.
I believe it's necessary, not as much easy.
Something to note too on this, the many communities will ask for more from ecology and then send less to the consultant or to the project and absorb that to help pay for Liana's time, staff time. And so that means you're taking out debt on staff time. That's not a process that Liana does here. That loan amount came from ecology, all that's going directly back into the project.
Similar to like what you and I were talking about with state grants.
Yeah, there's
Tacking on another 10% or
Yeah.
whatever for
or overhead.
administration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We make sure it all goes to the project. And so with that, the last one,
Yes, speaking of,
speaking of, the application for this was the easiest. The rest of it was a bear. But yeah, $2.5 million grant through Senator Patty Murray's office. And so this is a congressional direct spending that the city was able to receive through her office, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So And it's going directly to the cost overruns for the wastewater treatment plant project. We already have match.
And the grant percentage, that's impressive, 25% of the total project.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, well, motion to approve the US EPA assistance agreement in the amount of $2.5 million.
Period.
Second.
First and second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And so I'm gonna start drawing on this as soon as I can, because the more I draw on this, the less interest we're accruing in the DOE loan, so. Yeah. Just need to wait for them to approve the bank.
Can we go back to the budget for a moment?
Okay.
Just a quick question. How do we proceed from here now?
There's another
We have another
public, yeah, so there's a second public hearing in November. Where we'll also have a public hearing on the property tax rates, the levy rates. And so after that public hearing, we can adopt the budget. So I'll probably have that, the budget ready to go. And so it can be adopted there, it can wait till December. However, I mean, I was talking with someone earlier today about how firm the budget is. And I was kind of laughing, and it might be firm for larger cities that have larger budgets to kind of flux, but our budget is so dependent on the funding that we get that our budget is pretty much always in flux. So if we get a grant, we would then amend the budget, or if we get something like we amend the budget. So it'll be as fixed as we can make it by the end of December, but
And the reason I'm asking is things like the fire chief and that amount of money, and what is the deliverables that we are going to be expecting from a fire chief when we're paying that kind of money out. You know, those kinds of issues with the budget that I want to make sure we have the opportunity to discuss before we finalize stuff.
And once approving the budget wouldn't necessarily automatically authorize that increased pay, because we pay, that's authorized through a separate resolution, just like the salaries. So the salaries are in a resolution, the volunteer firefighters are in a resolution as well. And so you can adopt the budget with that increased salary and still leave that outstanding and discuss it, because again, that would be a separate resolution.
Okay, what about for example, the law enforcement contract? Yeah, we can still adopt it.
Same thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and then as long as it's trued up by and then the way we adopt the budget too is at the fund level for the expense. So say that line item stays at 50,000 and we agreed to a higher number, as long as the general fund expenses don't exceed that bottom line, the budget doesn't need to be amended. But it inevitably needs amendment.
Because right now, overall, from what I can tell, we're about 43,000 over on the entire budget. Is that right?
Yeah.
That also includes like the safeguards that we have set up with the city, right?
I mean, so when we say we're $43,000 over, you also have to keep in mind that for the general fund, there's almost $1 million in reserves.
Yes.
And so I'm okay with it being short, especially if it's ongoing costs. That's where you kind of get concerned.
Yeah.
There's some capital costs, I think, in there, at least from this year that I know we're not spending, so it'll roll over next year. But, you know, if we're spending money like one-time costs and it's dragging it down, that's one thing, because you're
As opposed
to ongoing costs, right? When you have when you're adding a salaried person,
right,
and you continue to see that, that's where you start getting concerned. So,
Good.
yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, informational items are there. Any questions on those? Okay, staff reports.
Parks and parking this month is what I'll go into. So we are doing the Parks Master Plan. We're leading a coalition on behalf of the port, the county, the pool, the school, and the city for the Parks and Rec facilities in the Stevenson area. Consultants are moving on that. We'll roll out our community surveys starting tomorrow to gather input about what people are thinking we need or what they do to recreate in Stevenson. And they'll have some information on some projects in the queue. Do you like this one or do you not like that one? Start prioritizing those. The next phase of that then is a small group design shred with those agencies and the entities and the thought leaders there to say, okay, here's what we're hearing is necessary for the city. These are your facilities. How can we best incorporate parks into your facilities? What are your facility needs? So that's moving forward. We'll have the plan in place by late winter next year, early spring next year, in time to apply for Recreation and Conservation Office funding for the Plaza project. Parking, I've finally had a chance to analyze some of the data that we collected with the volunteer effort this year. So again, the 85% rule is that magic number with parking, where as a user, you feel like there is no place to park if more than 85% of the spots are taken. If there's less than that, you feel like you have a place to park. So the magic number that you try to spend your money toward is not having an oversupply of parking where people always have somewhere to park. You try to get as close as possible to that 85% line over time. We're nowhere close to it. No single hour had more than 60% of those spaces taken. Downtown wide, some of the block faces are full. And so that perception that there's a parking problem is true for somebody who drives through Russell Streets at 1 o'clock on a weekday. There's a parking problem at that hour. And if you're only
On
going
that
during
block,
that
right?
hour on that block, then yeah. So,
And if you're not willing to walk a half a block,
Exactly.
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
There was talk about the, ADA. And I know right now, well, there is, unless you're gonna go into a parking lot, there's one spot, right?
3 in the downtown area overall. All 3 are spaced to flank the Stevenson Landing. So none in the core.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's,
But we talked about the park plaza too, maybe incorporating a hump out in there.
we didn't necessarily do that in the curbs and all that was put in long before that was an issue, but it just is something that I was thinking about.
Yeah. So next steps then with that are to get the committee back together, analyze that data, and from there it'll go in 2 different directions. One direction will be, okay, these are areas where we could increase the parking supply, and that would in some way alleviate these demands that we have in the constrained areas. We can, and I think this is going to be the biggest thing, just start engaging some users to say, hey, our parking problem is between noon and 2 o'clock in the summertime. Can you have your employees in the summertime between noon and 2 o'clock park 2 blocks away to free these spots up and see if that's effective? And then we don't have to do anything regulatory at all. If that's not effective, then we start thinking of other things. So that's one way. The other way is to start looking at the zoning code to say, okay, if a new building comes in, we have an oversupply of parking downtown. Can we absorb some of the users' demands that the new building places with these on-street spots? So those are the 2 main thrusts that are going to come out of this, and it's coming together nicely.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
What's the difference between a question and a clarifying question?
Well,
And
stop it. Did you say there's 3 handicap parking spaces downtown
On street.
on the street? There's 3 handicap parking spaces on the street downtown.
Yeah.
Where?
All, 2 of them are
Like
Uh,
marked?
2 Two of them are east of the Stevenson Landing and one is west of the Stevenson Landing.
That's a lot of things. Yeah, kind of included.
There's nothing on Second Street, that's what you.
On Second Street, they're not on the core.
Yeah.
He said it wasn't in the core, it's in public
Okay.
spots, but it's not in the core. Not on Second Street, not on Russell, but it is.
That's super
in-
convenient.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Ben.
Well, it's because of the cruise ships.
Yeah.
True. I'm gathering folks that are retired and are there. Gotcha. Okay.
It's because the project was done more recently. It's, you know,
Right, it's because those are put in because that was after.
And so
the date.
the more recent analysis, and I'm not remembering the specific number, it's either somewhere between 30 and 33 downtown is how many we should have by the current regs. We have 3 and they're not.
And they're not in the
downtown
spot,
core,
right.
And they're not in a place where if you end up in a wheelchair or a walker that you want to get to the downtown core, so.
Or even to the pharmacy.
Yeah. Although the pharmacy's got parking on the side, but you gotta come up the steps.
yeah.
So it's, yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't include private property like an AG.
Right, well, some says one, like little, there's a few, but it's not, again, doesn't need necessarily.
Just our
Looking
supply
for.
should have more than
Yeah.
30. The public's on-street supply should have 30 or more.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that project coming together in the end and coming to you. I don't have a specific update on the annexation policy committee. Do you want to provide any?
There's not a huge update on that yet. We're still just meeting and going over the data from other public entities that have gone through some of the same annexation things and trying to get some guidelines and making it so that it's not subjective, but actually has structure around what we're doing. So
Preliminary discussions on that or preliminary agreements that they've made there is that this isn't a rolling out how to bring property into the city's intentions to bring property in. That's one of the examples that we looked at is by 2026, we're going to annex all of these areas. By 2028, these areas. That's not what this is. This is a tool to provide to those adjacent property owners to say, so you're thinking about annexation. This is how the city is going to respond to your questions. Then the other discussion is you all have to make a decision. The city council has to make a decision about whether to expand annexation areas when they come in are proposed and along those same lines. No, this isn't going to be an effort that's going to expand things by a lot. There's going to be an exception there if it's a previously developed lot at the densities anticipated in the comp plan. Then yes, we're going to ask that property be included in that. We prefer to include those properties. So that'll help you guys make those decisions. If you remember the annexation that came to you last year, it's, hey guys, we can do this area and this is the impact of this area. And you give us information on that because we didn't have any policies to guide us. Right. So this will help clear that up.
yeah, that was my main goal was going into it was when we have a situation where somebody's just like, hey, what's this? And it's not us going, I don't think this is exactly, but giving guidelines and actually being able to say, does this meet the criteria that we're looking for? Or yes, no, these are the answers. So. That's it. Okay.
All righty.
Uh,
It's me. I'm squeaky chair today, in our water department, kind of cool news. So the way the water treatment plant works is, we get surface water, comes in, goes into a couple basins, where it gets filtered in essence, and then goes out into a contact chamber where it gets chlorinated and then gets distributed. Those basins have to be backwashed because they collect all the nasty stuff. So we have and I really wish I've got pictures. We use an analog timer for that. So you open up this cupboard and there are all these dials and switches and nobody knows how it works. And we all like praying it never breaks because it's terrifying, but we ended up with a little bit of extra money because we didn't paint. this year, so we're able to replace that, and so they're working on the replacement of the system to go digital, well, go electronic even. So yeah, so that's kind of a exciting thing happening in the water world. In the wastewater world, we did have our pre-construction meeting for the pump station projects last month. It went, as you know, pretty well. It was super early because that was a requirement of being able to issue notice to proceed. They won't start until January or February, and so we'll do another pre-construction meeting and get some of the other stakeholders involved in that. It was more funding partners, construction management team, and then contractor at the first pre-construction meeting. In the stormwater world, we're cleaning out catch basins with our favorite tool, vac truck. So you might see it buzzing around, but we're getting ready for rain. And streets, we have trees coming on Monday. So about a dozen trees to replace stumps as well as dead trees in just the downtown area, as well as fill like vacant wells. So there's a few spots where the tree must have died. They pulled it, they just put bricks in after it. So we'll take the bricks out and put the trees back in there. I sat in on a great chat.
How'd you pick which trees?
How do we pick which trees? You guys saw the survey, I'm sure, the tags. And we didn't pick them, so the community picked the types of trees. So they will be a little bit different. They won't all be the same. And that was a recommendation by the ISA certified arborist, urban arborist person, who said this is how you prevent disease and in your forest, your urban forest. So furthering kind of that tree replacement, we are going to go after funding. DNR has quite a bit of money that they will be distributing next year. So yeah, hoping to be able to further a number of tree projects with that. So Ben and I are going to put our heads together. I approved the final plans for the replacement wayfinding signs. So we probably have 6 replacements, just information that's changed on some of the signs that are in the downtown, as well as like this little, this one that still points us to the middle school. Yeah. Really had hoped to have that done earlier, but it just didn't quite come together. As well as some new ones. So like the transfer station signs that everybody sees that are like green with the white on the outside, and those will be replaced with wayfinding signs that kind of match the theme throughout. The library signs that indicate library location, parking, those will be replaced, as well as making sure to highlight areas where there is public restrooms and information. So there will be icons that say there's public bathrooms here, as well as the courthouse. I don't think the library sign ended up with a public bathroom icon. Maybe did it? Parking and public bathroom, maybe, because it didn't end up with an electric vehicle one. But, yeah,
Talk to Department of Commerce about that one.
didn't make it.
They still haven't made up their mind. They still haven't notified anyone
That's so
on
painful.
those grants.
We did leave space so we can add a button when you get your stuff, or when the library gets
What icon did you use for the toilet?
the same one for you.
Okay.
Yeah, that was such an
Apparently they were gonna try
won't
to
get
change,
into it.
but yeah.
There's a lot of different ways that people indicate like restrooms these days.
In Thailand, they would show somebody with their hands like this, kind of doing this.
Yeah. I thought about it probably too late, but we probably should have done like a Sasquatch, like, some sort of Sasquatch outline. Like that would have been,
With toilet paper in his hand.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, something along those lines. Maybe it would be lost on, but at least the residents get a kick out of it. The locals. Nothing new on equipment except for things are breaking and we fix them. And the Parks World had a great chat with some of the folks that are working the parks plan today. And then you may notice like Walnut Park is getting brighter. The mayor, our real mayor, Scott, is working with Justin Gross on it.
Oh.
Sorry, Dave, I know you're not working with Justin on improving the space, but, so that's a really great partnership that.
What are we talking about?
They're just removing some of the
I know.
underground, like dead trees in Walnut Park.
Gotcha.
Yeah, not the walnut tree, but
I know there
the
was-
other like firs that are, yeah, they're just not really doing
It's
that
cool
park
space,
any
though.
favors.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's potential there. For our personnel, we have 2 new CDL drivers, John and Carson both got their CDLs this, like, just a week ago. And then additional endorsements for Cordy and John's licenses as well. We just settled on bringing asbestos cement pipe training in-house in early December. So we're gonna be reaching out to PUD, county, small works roster in the area and opening that up to people. So it's kind of important.
Yeah.
Knows anything about AC pipe. It's kind of important to do it right when you have to come in contact with that. Were you gonna talk about building permit software? So building permit software, did you talk about?
I did.
Yeah. They rolled out, not really my realm, but I'm super excited about it because it makes my job a lot easier. The county rolled out some new software and we are piggybacking on it with them for building permits. So streamlining, being able to all review at the same time is huge, like not having to pass a folder from one desk to another, like really, really hoping to be able to speed up our building permit review because we've gotten a lot of feedback that it's way too slow and I can't say I disagree. And then our CityWorks, our asset management system, we're still being configured, still being implemented, but
GIS is coming along.
yeah, it's just so like robust and we have so many assets.
There's so many buttons and whistles that you can play with.
There's so
Yeah.
much. Yeah, we have a really great person that we're engaging with now. He's, our GIS guy. He's very, very responsive. And so it's nice to have a partner who really knows how to run that machine.
Kelly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What?
with
Not with the county. No, it's a contract with through small cities.
Yeah, Association of Washington Cities has a GIS consortium, and so this is their second year on that,
Okay.
and then we also have a separate contract with Flow Analytics, who does both, so it's the same person. So when that runs out, we.
Good.
Yeah, there are a lot of kinks to work out though. Super envious of how nice the building permit software is. I'm like, I can't.
Well, one thing with the building permit software, so right now it's kind of a soft rollout
Yeah.
where we're still taking paper applications and then we're entering the information in. So I'm sure the kinks will
Ooh.
come when the public
Yeah.
does it themselves. There's a review process, so they submit everything, but then we review it to make sure that everything is actually there. You're not just uploading pictures of your cat. So,
And everything goes from point A to point B.
Yes, yeah.
That's it. Thank you. Yeah.
Goodness. Working on the Parks Plaza project. We had a kickoff meeting last week, a couple weeks ago. And we're shooting to have our first engagement and a public outreach on December 1st, which will be the Christmas in the Gorge and the tree lighting ceremony, because that's a great event at the Courthouse Plaza. So that's what we're shooting for. We're also going to be mailing out a flyer to everyone in the county regarding how you can engage in that event, but also how else you can get information about the project. It may be a postcard or a flyer, but we won't have any design plans or schematics to vote on yet really at that time because of the production timeline. So it'll be kind of generic. It'll be similar to the Parks Plan postcard that they're doing. And so they're going to be doing a survey with a QR code. And so that'll probably be similar to what they'll do for the Parks Plan. And working on the agenda for next meeting, as well as the special joint meeting between the fire department. And one thing that we have lost with Mary, so the iteration, the city used to have a contract with someone to clean City Hall. And then Susan did it for a bit when she was here. And then Mary did it for a bit until she retired last month. And so one thing that we're going to be doing is going out for an RFP for janitorial services. And it'll be for City Hall, Public Works, also talking about throwing the fire hall in, just to get everything cleaned on a regular basis. And then we'll also throw in, I think City Hall gets the carpets cleaned at once or twice a year. And I don't know if any other of the buildings need anything else, but yeah.
Can we back, piggyback on with the small works roster that the county has?
We have our own small works roster. Yeah. And I don't know that we've received any for that. So,
Okay.
but yeah. And it falls under prevailing wage. So, yeah, go figure, right? Exactly. That's what I said. So, but yeah, that and just working on getting that EPA reimbursement. And First Street, we're working on getting the consultant on board to finish that preliminary engineering. Their estimate came in a little higher than we had anticipated, so
The Overlook project.
it is for the Overlook project, yeah. And so they're sharpening their pencils, and we'll hopefully hear back from them soon, and then we'll go forward with getting that done, because that is what then gets us to the next phase for us to contract with WashDOT for that, for the grant to go out to bid. And again, just closing out projects next year, that's the goal. So
Is that it?
yeah, that's all.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'd entertain a motion for voucher approval.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers as presented, period.
Second.
First and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, any issues for any of your reports?
I could have been on some committee with you.
What?
I could be on some committee with you. But other than that,
do.
it's my only issue coming up next month, so we're good.
We got issues, don't we? I actually have two things. One is, the 30th is our initial meeting for the sewer committee, for lack of a better term. So we'll be meeting on that. And then also, it looks like
Wastewater clarifiers.
Yeah.
That's the name of the group.
Is the-
wastewater clarifier.
Yep, it's what it was back in the
No
day.
pun intended, right?
There's a better name.
Okay, all right, well then. Sound-
WWC, I like it. WWC.
The other one is the Tourism Advisory Committee one. Email went out today and looks like we're probably gonna be meeting on Wednesday, the 1st, to discuss the tourism dollars for next year. Those are the two things that I have. Any other issues you want to bring up for consideration for the next meeting?
I think we've got plenty of issues already.
Boy, howdy. I love this. I don't know how he does this. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, we'll close the meeting at 7:23.
Very nice.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Christy.
Great job.
Night.
You know, Mayor Scott.
Hi, Christie.